And as my colleague and spokesperson Deputy Cowan has already stated in this debate previously, Fianna Fáil strongly support the passage of this bill to committee stage, and that is what we are discussing here today. The main purpose of the bill is to give basis to one of the core planning reforms recommendations of the Mahon Tribunal, the establishment of an independent Office of Planning Regulator to oversee and assess decision-making and process in planning authorities. Fianna Fáil have continually put pressure on this and the previous government to implement as many of the Mahon recommendations as possible. We are committed to drawing from the lessons of the Mahon Tribunal, and we must improve transparency, consistency and good decision-making throughout the planning system. Building on strong action when we were in government, it is now vital that we continue to put in place the legal and institutional framework to prevent the corruption and planning abuses that the Mahon Tribunal uncovered. And there is no question that what Mahon uncovered was very, very serious. And there is also no question that in the eyes of the public, it is something they do not want to see. They want to see transparency, and they want to see things done right, and they want to see consistency as well. So there is an onus on everybody in this House to ensure that, where possible, we put in place what Mahon has suggested. Now, in relation to this bill, we believe that it strikes an appropriate balance in giving the new OPR independence in its role, evaluating local and regional development plans while maintaining some democratic control over the body by the Minister and the Oireachtas. And it is again very important that there is some control for the Oireachtas and the Minister of the day. But that does not say that we are fully happy with the bill. Indeed, we have a number of concerns over some of the key provisions, which we believe require further scrutiny and amendment. Firstly, the omissions in the bill of key Mahon recommendations for improving transparency in planning, including the disclosure of political donations by planning applicants and the noting of all submissions by political representatives on planning applications. Secondly, some of the OPR's functions and powers prescribed by the bill may not make it an effective overseer on the national planning strategy. For instance, it is given no role in overseeing executive transport planning agencies, including the NTA and TII, of course, bodies that have a major concern in transport and roads and all that type of development throughout this land. And I have to say, coming from my own constituency, we have had serious problems with this in the past, where on some occasions I would say that those bodies seem to be a law unto themselves and do not often take into account, and Minister, I'd say you know this yourself, in the past, where they don't seem to speak with people, meet with people, listen to their concerns. And I really think that in relation to NTA and TII Transport Ireland, that we do need to look and see that they come under the remit here of the office. Since one of the rationales given by Mahon behind establishing the OPR is achieving greater integration between land use planning, such as local authority zoning decisions, and strategic transport planning, it is really disappointing that the OPR is not given any role in overseeing the development or implementation of plans by the NTA or TEII. And I would urge you, Minister, again to look at that and take that on board and see what can be done. Thirdly, we are concerned that the limitation of the OPR powers as prescribed in the bill may make it toothless in some regards, an anti-corruption watchdog in the planning process. Finally, we also have some reservations about placing the successor to the National Spatial Strategy, the Government's yet undrafted National Planning Framework, on a statutory footing, given that it does not yet exist. And again, that is something that clearly needs to be sorted out and dealt with. In all of this, I think it is also, in conclusion, important to point out that sometimes in local communities there are very simple planning developments, like a modest bungalow, or the replacement of an old house, or maybe the establishment of a community centre, which in my view should be going through the planning process without any major difficulty. There is no vested interest except for the good of the community. And sometimes, if in relation to some of those regulations that are now being proposed, we end up making things more difficult for such communities, that would not be good, and I would not like to see that happen. In the greater scheme of things, and in more major developments, I think it is important to support this bill. But I think, again, I want to repeat, extremely important that we don't make it more difficult for the very ordinary, simple individuals with simple planning issues. Of course, if the bill frees up some land and land developments for housing in areas that it is badly needed, we all welcome that, considering the major housing crisis we have at the moment. So all in all, this party support the moving on of this bill, but I would hope, Minister, that you would take into account some of the issues that I brought up there, particularly in relation to Transport Ireland and NTA. It is crucial that those people have some understanding of communities' needs and communities' wants, and not be seen to ride roughshod over them in terms of not listening to them. At least what they are due is a proper listening ear from bodies such as that, and I hope that when this bill is further discussed, that is something you can include and ensure that those bodies are accountable to everybody, particularly the communities. Thank you very much, Deputy Bernard Durkin.